So we do that verbally. So if I'm going to upset someone, and I say something mean to someone, I have to look at what am I feeling? What am I trying to get from this? And I'm not talking about if someone is, if I'm in danger or someone's not hearing me. Sometimes it's very appropriate to be loud, to yell, to get their attention, to break whatever loop they're stuck in, where they're glitching. It's sometimes very important to do that. So it's not just about always, being at a certain level. Sometimes it's necessary, but very rarely. Usually I'm communicating like that because I want to upset one. And if I want to upset one, it's usually because I'm feeling something. So what you should try next time is, when you feel upset with someone, you want to let them know, go and do a catharsis. And you can, if you did miss that talk on catharting, I'm going to post it on YouTube, so you can go back and watch it. And you can then clear yourself of this energy, purge it. That's what catharsis is, purging of emotion. Then, do I need to still say what I need to say? You maybe don't need to try and upset that person. Maybe you can communicate with them in a way that's easier for them to understand, right? So if I'm coming at someone very aggressively, they're now not listening. They're ready to defend themselves. So they get these chemicals that are defense chemicals. And remember, the reason part of the brain shuts down when you're in stress or fear, right? It goes offline. So this part, this reasoning, is not even there. I'm just in fear and anxiety mode. So it doesn't even help with this type of communication. This is why we lie. The only reason anyone would lie is when it's dangerous to tell the truth, right? There's no other reason to lie. And so if I've made it dangerous for someone to tell the truth, they will not tell me that. They'll avoid it or hide it from me because of their risk of losing my friendship, losing my connection, or not being part of the tribe. So if I want someone to be honest with me always, I have to create that space for them to be honest, which means there aren't the negative consequences, right? I can't punish them for telling the truth, right? I can, if there was a behavior that doesn't sit well with me, I want to understand why they performed that behavior, right? We talked about this in the relationship talk, but I was talking with a hostage negotiator one time, and they were talking to me about how they communicate. And what they said is that you have to understand that everyone thinks they're in the right, even if they're causing harm to someone else. Like, these hostages were coming from a place of defending their own culture, of defending their religion, right? They were doing it for their higher power. And so they were in the right. They were the good person. It didn't matter they were hurting someone. They were the good person. And if you have to understand that no one is really trying to hurt you unless they're trying to offload some of their emotion, right? But they did something. So this act they did was usually something that's out of control of them. So if I did a bad behavior that wasn't in our agreement of our relationship, friendship, romance, whatever, it was out of our agreement, there's a reason I did it. And it's probably, it could be that I felt so hurt and so inadequate, I went and got attention from someone else. I'm just making stuff up. So if I have the freedom, if I give someone the freedom to communicate with me, I can actually understand what they've done, why they have their behavior. So now I'm communicating very differently. I haven't caused that rift or that distancing because someone can't tell me the truth, right? And as we just mentioned, there's a underlying non-verbal feeling. So if they're upset or they did something that they think will upset me and they have a fear, I'm going to experience that. I might not be able to put my finger on it, but I'm going to feel something. There's going to be a break in our relationship. And so I can be responsible for allowing someone to tell the truth and to communicate with me. You know, on the other side of it is if I have something I need to communicate, it might be upsetting me that I'm not communicating it. So I'm stressing over it. And as we've mentioned before, it's much more dangerous for me to have thoughts, negative thoughts, than it is for me to actually have danger, because it's not tangible. When I'm thinking about a scary scenario, it's not tangible. So there's not much I can do about it. But I get the same chemical response in my body as though I'm really under attack. So it's really important to start untangling all this communication. Let's go, there's a question here, let's go to a question. If I can open up the app, here we go. Is it the same people having the right job, living in the right location, looking? So I think this is the question I asked, like all these people there finding the right job, getting the right spouse, is it all about fitting in the tribe? And yes, it is. So if I decided to have 7 wives, I don't fit in the narrative of my tribe. People are like, oh, that person's odd. There are religions, obviously we know about religions that do it, and we have a judgment because it doesn't fit our belief. So everything I do in my life is to fit in some narrative, in some group or some tribe. I want to have a certain job, not only so I get a certain income, so I have more freedom or I can buy more things, but also I fit in that tribe. You know, I can buy a big house so other people with big houses can recognize that I fit in their tribe. And as I mentioned before, what we value in our tribe is wealth, power, success, fame, these things. So I want to emulate that I have that. So that's why people bend over backwards trying to show how fancy they are with their cars and their watches and their houses. It's all fine, just know that it is to try and fit in with the tribe. And you can play that game, you can be in that hamster wheel and working and getting the rewards. But if it's to your detriment, you might want to be able to get off. And so that's all I want to communicate, is that you have the freedom to be able to get off. So let's talk about some things to try with your communication, which you want to look at, what am I gaining out of this communication? What am I gaining? Not what I'm causing yet in the other person, we'll get to that, but what am I gaining from it? Am I getting validated? Am I getting more secure in my tribe? And I'm creating connection so I feel I belong. What is it I'm trying to do? Am I trying to offload my emotion? I'm trying to upset somebody. What's the point of this communication? And it's very important to start assessing that. I often am in groups and my field is health and fitness, wellness. And often I'll be at the table and someone will be talking about something as I know it is incorrect, right? From my knowledge, what they're saying is not right. It's a way to eat or a way to exercise or something. It doesn't matter what it is. And I have to think to myself, why am I going to correct this person if I am? Is it so I feel good about myself, so I can demonstrate that I have more knowledge, so I can dominate this person and feel empowered? Do I need to correct them? What will I get out of it? Is anyone going to be in danger if they have this communication? If not, I probably don't need to say anything, because the only reason I would say it would be to validate myself. So I let them. Often people talk about these, very interesting ways of getting healthy or exercising. If they ask me directly, of course I will tell them. But if they're not asking me, this person, they're not only trying to disperse what information they have. They might think they're trying to help someone. They're also trying to validate themselves. So why would I invalidate them in that moment? I can take them aside afterwards and go, hey buddy, what you said, it's not actually right. Or where did you hear that information? Maybe it's information I don't have. If you really want to correct them, or the person they're talking to, you can go after and go, hey, look at this, this research, I saw it, I understood it differently. But if I, in a group, say, hey, no, that's wrong, I got to look to see if I'm trying to do it for my own benefit, for my own ego, my own identity. or is it, my identity through my beliefs? I don't believe that I'm intelligent or that you value me. So, hey, I just found an opportunity where I can prove that I have intelligence or I have value by invalidating someone else. So this is how entangled our communication gets. And we really have to start breaking it down to not only understand who we are, our identity, where it's coming from, so we can correct that, but also to see how we're leaving other people and what responsibility we have there. The way we listen can actually clear up something for somebody. It can actually heal somebody. So if I listen to someone without preparing my argument, because I'd be preparing my argument to defend something, which is my identity, which actually doesn't exist, right? You can't show me your identity. You can just perform behaviors that demonstrate your identity, that demonstrates your belief. That's all you can do. So if I'm listening with defending this belief, I'm defending my identity, but I can listen in a way that clears things for people. Remember how dangerous it is for us to go inside our own heads with our conversations, right? I can only think in the past or future, so I can ruminate over something that happened that upset me or pleasurable, or I can think about something in the future that might happen, that might go wrong. That's producing the same chemical feeling as though it's actually happening. So that's not good for me. So I shouldn't actually be going in my head alone. Remember we talked about this the other day, which about compartmentalizing your life. So I don't worry about these things unless I'm strategizing over it. Right? So the way I listen affects completely how the other person is speaking. Have you ever spoken to someone who's not really listening? It's very difficult to be speaking like that. That's why people get upset when other people are on their phones. So you're not being heard. So if you just stop and completely listen without a conversation in your head, you can actually complete something for someone or heal them. The other thing is, I might have an upset that I want to get out. Don't just go and gossip and spew it out. Use the clearing technique that I talked about the other day. So I'm going to let someone know, hey, I'm just clearing. I'm just getting this off my chest. I don't need anything done about it. I'm not trying to upset anybody. Once I've said my piece, it's over. We don't bring it up again. I'm just going to verbally get it out. And that's a form of catharsis. So catharting is really important. It's because we have the on and off switch for other people's chemical factories, meaning I can produce an emotion in somebody else. I have to understand that responsibility, right? I have to understand that's an effect. So who do I want to show up in the world? Who would I like people to show up for me? Can I leave this person fulfilled, which I can do it by what I say, how I say it, and by how I listen? Am I leaving positive chemicals? Am I leaving them with positive chemicals with a positive feeling? So we can take on that responsibility and affect people positively if we think about it. So we got to reflect on ourselves and disarm where our identity is coming from, what we're lacking that we're trying to prove. Right? I feel alone, so I'm trying to get connection. I feel stupid, so I'm trying to prove that I'm intelligent. Get rid of all that communication. Think, why am I communicating? And then think how I'm going to leave these people that I'm in communication with. And I can leave them feeling amazing, feeling fulfilled, complete trauma. That's how I think we should take this on. We should start communicating. So practice today. Observe yourself and then practice leaving someone feeling great, feeling fulfilled. It empowers you. Remember the oxytocin. I get a release of oxytocin when I produce that feeling in someone else. Okay? Thanks for joining me.